Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. If you're watching this live with us on Zoom, or if you're watching the recording later on YouTube, you are at Coffee with Omega. This is our monthly interview series that we do with our KWYP Triangle chapter here in Raleigh, Durham area, North Carolina. So to give you a little bit of context, we are with Keller Williams Realty, largest franchise in the world. Within Keller Williams, we have an amazing community called Young Professionals dedicated to developing the next generation of leaders, not just in real estate, but in the world. And so once a month, our chapter here in the Triangle hosts an inspiring interview. This week, we get the privilege, or this month, we get the privilege of being with Taley out of South Carolina. We're going to hear all about her inspiring business and, more importantly, her inspiring life that she's living outside of that. Before we get started, a few quick notes. If you don't know what YP, or if you are curious about joining Keller Williams or YP, it's super easy. Go to kyp.org. The membership is only $40 a month, or if you join annually, it's $400. If you're a team leader, for that price, you can join, and any teammates get half price. Same applies to market centers as well. So if you're a market center that wants to join, any of your staff can join at half price. So we've got a lot of value here. One of the biggest things coming up soon is going to be June 1st through 3rd. It's our annual YP Summit. This is similar to Family Reunion and Mega Camp, which you may be familiar with, except it is exclusively for YP members. 2 years ago in Atlanta, we had the first one. I met some amazing friends, got some amazing content out of that, and had a great time. Last summer in Nashville, I brought my whole team with me. That was a blast. This year, the 3rd annual, we are going to be in Fort Worth, Texas, right outside of Dallas. It's going to be amazing. Make sure you RSVP for that. Someone will probably drop a link in the chat, or if not, just come find me afterwards. Be happy to post that for you to make sure that you can register for that. Another exciting announcement. I have the privilege of leading the first ever KWYP National Book Club that's not being led by Cami. Cami has, in addition to the a million amazing things she does as our community director, she has led our book clubs every quarter. And so I'll be leading those coming up for Q2. We're going to start in April, and it's going to be the book Who, Not How. I've got it somewhere. Here we go. Who, Not How, an amazing book on leverage, team building, and really just how to multiply your time, which is what a lot of us young professionals struggle to do, something that Taley and I are going to talk about today. So with that said, we're just going to jump right in and get started. Taley, if you may have heard before we started recording, her Zoom had to restart. She's at her listing where her sellers needed her for an emergency. So we're going to dig right into it without further delay. So Taley, we're excited to have you today. How are you feeling?
I'm good. How are you? Feeling a little chaotic. My seller had to go to the urgent care. We had a repair that had to be done this morning, so I had to Zoom over here. And when you text me, I was like, what is going on? Like my brain was just kind of warped. So I appreciate the grace, and I'm excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to hear from you. We didn't ask you to be on this call because you're perfect or because you have it all put together, like none of us do. We asked you here because we knew that you would share with us honestly and transparently about your business. So that's what we're excited to hear. So let's just scale back. Before you started your business, before college and all that, what was young Taley like? Where did you grow up? Were you entrepreneurial already? Did you have a lemonade stand? Were you selling Girl Scout cookies? What were you like as a kid?
So I grew up in a small town in North Carolina. I am from the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina. Me and my husband are both members. So I grew up in a small little tribal community, and I was there, from birth till, and I PCS with my husband to Fort Jackson. So literally that's all I had known in life. I even went to college there. We have a university, and no, I was not selling lemonade stands, but I have always been a people person. I have always been in front of people. So I grew up doing pageants. I did a whole bunch of interviews at a really young age. I traveled the East Coast as a tribal representative, at the young age of 12, and then again at 16 years old. I was the university representative for my college. So a whole bunch of just being in front of adults as a kid and learning how to interact and talk to people in a way that makes them feel very important and acknowledged by you. I grew up as almost like a inspirational figure for other young tribal women. And so being able to relate to people on whatever level they are at has been something that I've always done. And I find that it lends me very well today.
Wow. That's awesome. I actually had no idea about that part of your backstory. My mom is from my mom's from North Carolina. So I grew up visiting here as an Army kid myself who lived all around the world. And then when my dad retired from the military, we moved here permanently when I was in high school. And now that I'm from Raleigh now and live here, I've met many friends from the Lumbee tribe and from UNC Pembroke. Go Braves,
Yep.
right? Is that
Yep.
it?
That's
Yep,
right.
go Braves. That's exciting. So that's super cool. So let's fast forward because I heard most of your story at family reunion a few weeks ago when you were sitting on a panel talking about how you have had like a blitz of a career. You sold your first house in February of 2021, so a little over 2 years ago, and you've already sold 125 since then. I saw your
Yep.
board that you've got where you're coloring in 100 houses this whole year. You've already got a bunch closed and a bunch of them are pending. So where are you at today? Fast forward to what your business is, how many people you have on your team, or what your structure is like, and just what you are in the middle of right now.
Yeah, so today I am still, in the Keller Williams universe, considered a individual agent. I do have leverage. I have a showing assistant who helps me with showings. I still do showings, but I really lean on her for that a lot. And I just hired a full-time transaction coordinator. I previously had a TC who worked as a 1099 for me, and she also worked for other agents. And so now I have one that just only works for the Taley Hunt Home Group. And that's awesome. I'm really excited about that. And my husband recently left his career in the Army to join me. So now he is a reservist and he is serving as the DOO. We're still trying to figure out exactly what that looks like, but we are trucking through it.
Congratulations. My wife just came on my team as well to do operations, and it is a huge help to have somebody like that. We're the people, right? We like to be out front getting clients. And there's a whole group of people who do not want to do that. They want to stay behind the scenes and work their skills in that way. So you're working out figuring out what it looks like with your DOO husband. Sounds like you're probably in the middle of some growing pains like many of us are. What are you working on right now? Like what's a struggle that you're trying to work through?
I think hiring and growing has probably been one of the most difficult parts of my business. It is just hard to find the right people. And I really lean on the KPA for that. I think somebody's not muted. I
Oh yeah,
can
if you
hear my,
guys could all mute. Yeah, there was a little echo there. So you were
um,
saying the KPA?
yeah, I use the KPA, and that has been such a big help in my business. I am kind of at this weird crossroads where everybody is kind of noticing the success and they have a lot of
Mm.
advice. They have a lot of, you should start a team, or you don't need to start a team yet. And if I was you, this is what I would do, or this is where I was at your time. And so just trying to figure out exactly what that process looks for me and making sure that I have a solid foundation before moving too fast.
So you mentioned the KPA, right?
Yeah.
If you need to handle anything, feel free.
You don't? Okay. She will call okay.
That's fine. We'll fill everything out and I'll send it over for
The life of a real estate agent. We've all been there before.
So much. I appreciate you. Okay. Sorry. You too. Sorry. Back.
You were mentioning the KPA, and I wanted to hear more about what that means to you, because for anyone who doesn't know, the KPA is the Keller Personality Assessment. It's a way that we go through and we screen people. Have you been using that since you got into the business, or is this a new tool that you're learning how to use?
Well, the first hire that I had was a transaction coordinator. So to me, that was my first admin assistant because she kind of took care of all the big stuff, which was paperwork. And then I didn't use the KPA for her because I hired a transaction coordination company. And then she ended up branching off from that company and becoming like her own business owner. And I decided to stick with her. The first time that I used the KPA was when I hired a showing assistant for the second time. I didn't use it on my first showing assistant hire, and I wish that I would have. And then when I hired somebody the second time, I did use it, but I didn't choose the person that fit, that was the best aligned. And I didn't because at the time I was just in desperate need of someone, and the person that I hired had their license. But I knew that in that batch, there was someone who fit really perfectly. So I held on to her and I said, listen, I'll pay you $1,000 a month if you'll do miscellaneous tasks for me. And when this job role opens up again, I will transition you. And it opened up within 2.5 months because, the KPAs are always right. So now she is in that role and it is perfect. It is awesome. So I find that if you trust it and you use it as a tool in your arsenal, then you will probably be okay. And so for my new TC, I absolutely did the KPA. So I'm excited. They just started this week.
And if you don't know how to use the KPA, talk to your market center, talk to your team leader, your KW office, and they'll get you connected with that access to that tool. It's an incredibly powerful tool, not just for hiring, but to learn about yourself too, and learn about your skills. So I love that, Taley. You've talked a lot about your success and your kind of your team right now. Let's talk about your clients for a second. Where are they coming from? You have your Lumbee tribe, your pageants, your connections through that. Is that where most of your clients are coming from? Or with you moving to a new area, how are you finding these clients?
Yeah, so absolutely not. Nobody from home is hiring me. I did have a neighbor who in my old neighborhood who reached out to me and said, "Hey, my mom is moving to the area. We would love to have you help her buy a home." And when I got her mom's email address, I recognized the last name and I was like, hold on, she's got to be from home. She's got how do I know these people? And she was actually married to my cousin. And so that was the coolest thing ever. I got to help one person from home, inadvertently from a neighbor here in Columbia. But I moved here in 2020. That's when I got my license. I didn't know anybody. And so I have built my own sphere and built my own community. Social media is where I have been able to do that. So I've been able to build a community locally and a community of real estate agents who follow me and interact with me and vice versa every day. And so a lot of my business is coming organically from social media. My clients lead generate a lot for me. They go out and tell everybody that I'm awesome, and then those people hire me. And then a lot of agents send me referrals as well, but it all stems from social media. That is how I have been able to connect with so many people.
Okay, we're going to dig in a lot on social media. A lot of people in the young professionals community know that is where a lot of people hang out these days. For better or for worse, it's where a lot of business happens, is when you're scrolling on social media, right? You mentioned there's one thing in particular. We're going to talk about agent referrals too, but you mentioned your clients go out and lead generate for you. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so I think client experience is everything. And that's why I believe that systems and leverage is so important, because you cannot do it on your own. And just being very accommodating and providing value. And I believe that when you do that and when you stay in touch with people on a regular basis, and the relationship doesn't stop after the transaction ends, that they feel personally and authentically connected with you. And so what my clients will do is they will go leave reviews for me. I work with a lot of military families, and so we have our own little Facebook groups full of other military families, and they will literally go into those Facebook groups and be like, just closed on our house. Taley was our real estate agent. You've got to use her. She's amazing. This is what she did for our family. Or when other military spouses will say, we're moving to the area. We just got orders. We're house hunting. Who should we talk to? Man, they are just like piranhas. Every comment that you see is Taley, Taley, Taley. And so what has happened now is that I just will authentically get messages on a weekly, daily basis that are like, hey, we have orders. We hear that you're the person that we need to talk to. So I don't spend a lot of time physically lead generating anymore, and searching for business, because business just organically comes to me.
So do you ask them to go leave those referrals? I hear you say organic and I hear you say systems a lot. So there's got to be some connection here. Tell me more about how these things are connected.
No, so I do not ask them to do that. I never ask them to, but I do always show a lot of appreciation. I always stress that. Thank you so much for doing this to me. You have no idea how it impacts my business. When I say systems, I mean The onboarding process is kind of the same for all my buyers. I always have a buyer consultation. I always make sure to prep them for the market. I think that it provides for a better client experience. They're not as surprised. I sit down with them, hold their hand, educate them throughout the process. I have a TC so I can get things done really quickly. If they send me a question and I don't know the answer to it, I can lean on someone else. I don't have to be so bogged down that it causes a delay. One of the biggest things that I tell people is, listen, you know that I'm busy. I know that I'm busy. We all know that I have a lot of clients, and that's why you're hiring me, because you, like a lot of other people, trust me. But I don't want you to feel my busy. I want you to feel like you are a priority to me, because you are. And so I just make sure that my communication is really top tier. I make sure that they get everything they need in a quick manner. And I make sure that the client experience doesn't stop when I get my check. You know, I continue to give back to my local community through events and giveaways and just gifts. And I think that that has a way of making people want to support you because you support them.
So when you moved to this new area and you were just getting started, was it all through Facebook? Was it through door knocking, open houses? Like, how did you get those first few clients that started that snowball that has then begun to roll into what it is now?
So my very first client came from an agent to agent referral. There was a KW, or no, not a KW, just a regular agent Facebook group. And someone in Keller Williams in Florida needed a real estate agent. And I was the first KW agent to comment. And he was like, I wanted to send this to a Keller Williams agent, so I'm glad you commented. And then that client referred me to someone that worked with him. And then I continued to get more agent to agent referrals within Keller Williams. So that was the snowball for me, is that I got several military clients in my pipeline through agent to agent referrals. And then those people started recommending me to other people. And I just became the top recommended and the top producing military spouse agent in our area. And a lot of times people in my niche, they like to work with people who get it, who are also military. So being able to hold that spot as like the person that people recommend the most. And then I also work with a lot of people that are my age, you know, that are in their 20s or lower 30s. Those people, I feel like, are more apt to recommend me. Like a lot of 50-year-olds are not going to be having fun in a Facebook group. And so it just kind of became, it was just like a big buzz of like this new agent, and she's really been helpful. But a lot of agent to agent referrals, and then those clients would pass my information off to their coworkers.
See, I don't know. I thought Facebook is where the boomers hang out now and all the kids are on TikTok. Isn't that right?
I think so. But, you know, Facebook is great for community, right? So a whole lot of Facebook groups. And I started one that is for moms for our local military installation. And I recognized the need of people who just needed support and friends. And I tried to create an opportunity and create value for other people. And I just feel like that's where it is, you know, showing up, providing value every day and creating your community. It just kind of snowballs and helps you build your business innately.
Yeah. So is a lot of the people on this call and a lot of folks who watch it are involved in young professionals, and we're not in it for the referrals. And yet that is also still a big part of why we love Keller Williams and the YP network. So what's your structure around agent referrals? Do you send a gift as soon as you get the referral? Do you do a weekly call? Tell us how you keep that agent involved and keep them wanting to send you more referrals.
You know, I'm not the best with stuff like that. I created a landing page through Command. And if you type in TaleyHuntReferralGroup.com, it takes you to a landing page in Command, and you can fill out your information. And when you fill out that information, you automatically go into my database. And then I tag people as agent. And when I tag people as agent, it starts a smart plan. And it's just a one-time communication smart plan where I ask for their address and then I get their address. And so my goal is to send out something to them twice a year, because my thought process is I cannot remember where everybody works and what their service area is, but I want people to remember that I work in Columbia. So I'll send out a gift twice a year. In terms of keeping the agent involved in the referral process, I typically take the referral, and then once we get under contract, I let them know, hey, we're under contract, and then I let them know when we close. But sometimes it's not very systemized for me, and these are small things that I need to tweak a little bit in my business. But I mean, there have honestly been times where I've forgotten who has sent me the referral, and I've had to like dig back into my files. But for me, agent to agent referrals looks a lot like lead generating agents, the same way I would lead generate clients. Very intentionally creating community and relationships with other agents so that they constantly think about me. And I get a lot of people who will say, hey, do you work this city in South Carolina? And I don't work the city, but when they think of South Carolina, they think of me. And so that's awesome.
That's it. I love connecting people with other people in North Carolina. They say, oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you were in Charlotte. I say, no, that's great. Think of me with North Carolina, and then I'll connect you with the right person who covers it. So you mentioned lead gen with clients and agents. Tell us what your lead gen is like. Is it every morning? Is it at all times? Anytime you get a 5-minute break, you're just scrolling Facebook and commenting, or is it direct outbounds? Tell us what your lead gen looks like.
So the only form of lead generation that I use is social media. That's it. So I'm constantly on social media, constantly producing content that is not only helpful for buyers and sellers, but also helpful for real estate agents, because I want to draw you to my platforms so that we can stay connected and engaged that way. I did just start implementing DTD2 this year with my database. And I do that because my clientele has a high turnover rate. So they move to an area 1 year, they're out of it within the next 3 years at the most, 3 or 4 years at the most. So my goal is to stay as connected as possible with past clients. And that's really who I DTD to. I don't do everybody. I do a whole lot of people who have already hired me one time. And I find that it really solidifies and nurtures the relationship that I already have with them and makes them feel like I have not forgotten about them post transaction. So a whole bunch of social media, and I just implemented DTD2, and the social media is just constant production of content, stories, taking people along with me, letting them into my personal life too. Like yesterday, we just lost our longtime babysitter, and I've been super sad about that. And I talked about that online, and it wasn't a lead generating tactic. It's just second nature for me to be open and honest about our life. And I think what that does is provide a sense of trust between you and the consumer. And then they trust you with other things, trust you to talk to you. I just recruited someone over to KW, and it wasn't even on purpose. She just reached out to me and said, hey, I feel like we're friends. We've never met before, but I feel like we're friends. And I have this issue going on with my brokerage. What would you do? I said, I would leave and I would come to KW. and it happened.
For anyone who doesn't know, oh, and by the way, I just filled out that referral form. What is it? Taley Hunt referralgroup.com. Is that what it was?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I'm going to test you. I'm going to see how the system works, and I'm going to let you know if I see anything that can be improved. But no, I'm just kidding. I'm sure it's great. I'm excited to see what comes of that, because I'm always learning what other agents are doing with their systems and their software. So you mentioned DTD2, which for anyone who doesn't know is do the database twice. So every week you're taking 2 letters of the alphabet and you're calling them, whether it's by first name or last name, it doesn't really matter. But you mentioned exclusive social media for your lead gen. So with your DTD2, is that also social media, or is that a phone call?
It depends on the relationship that I have with the client. So sometimes it's a message on Facebook, sometimes it's a text message, and sometimes it's a phone call. If I know that they are really busy people, I do not call them, just because I don't want to waste their time just by like having this conversation. I feel like in today's day and age, people really don't want to pick up the phone as much. And so I think that I get better responses when I just text them and say, hey, long time no talk. How is everything going with you? How's the family? How's work? How's everything going? And then people are like, everything is so great. These are the updates that we've done with our house, and work is awesome. Whatever. People just really love to chat and don't necessarily, want to take the time to have a 5-minute conversation.
Yeah. You mentioned your babysitter a second ago and being personal. I want to go into the personal life for a minute, because when people hear about you doing 125 deals in 2 years, they might think that you're a young single hustler that has a lot more time on her hands than other people. You're not. You're married. You've got a kid or multiple kids. Tell us about that, your family life, and how do you balance or counterbalance everything?
Oh gosh, so it's hard. My first year, I did 28 deals, and I had just had a baby, and I didn't take a maternity leave, and I would not recommend that to anybody. I was just telling an agent today in my office that I feel very much like the first year of my daughter's life was a blur. I was just trying to work and build a foundation for her. I knew that we were in a position where we could potentially get military orders. And so I wanted to work really hard so that we didn't have to move because I loved it here. And I thought if we make enough money, then we will have choices and we'll have freedom and we won't feel obligated to move with the military again. So it was tough, and it required a whole bunch of putting her in the back seat to go do showings and sitting her on my lap for virtual buyer consultations, taking her to closings. It was a lot, and it was very emotionally taxing, but I feel like that year had a really big impact on my career today. And last year, that year I didn't have any childcare. So last year I hired childcare, and I had someone from 10 to 4. So I would be with her in the morning, be with her in the afternoon, and then I would go and I would work for 6 hours. And I would work when my husband got home. I would work sometimes in the morning too if I had to, but I would just put my head down and do whatever I had to do during those 6 hours because I knew I didn't have an extended period of time. So I just really prioritized everything within that time. And then my husband, because he has switched over from the reserves, he gets to be home more. So he's kind of working from home and doing a lot of admin stuff at home. I'm pretty sure right now he is putting labels on Girl Scout cookies that we're going to go pass out to our neighborhood this weekend. So he has been such a big help with her leaving. We're hoping to get her in some childcare soon, but it is truly a balancing act. It is not, for 1 second, I would never say that it was easy. It is hard. And to me, it is about knowing your why, knowing why you're doing it. And when the days get hard and long and you feel defeated, remembering the priority. And for me, that is creating a really good life for my kid. She turns 2 in a couple weeks, which is just mind blowing to me. But when she gets a little bit older, she's going to be involved in things like sports and extracurriculars in school. And I want to be able to be very present. And so I feel like if I work really hard now, eventually I will have a business that allows me to be really present.
Yeah. As a dad to a 7 and a 4-year-old girl, I can really relate to that. We moved here when we were pregnant with a baby on the way, and we had quit our jobs, and it was a risk, it was a gamble. And so I grinded and worked way too hard those first few months that she was born, and don't regret it because it's what I needed to do to advance my career. But yeah, it's hard to unwind those habits, and you have to be really intentional about protecting your time at home, especially as they get older and they're going to ask for your time more. Man, I'd tell you, the first few times your kid asks you if you can get off your phone, that'll be a dagger in your heart, but it'll hit home in a good way. And so let's talk about that. You mentioned your big why. What keeps you motivated on your mindset? Are you an early riser? Are you affirmations, fitness, nutrition? How do you keep yourself going and keep yourself sane?
I have to give the biggest kudos to my husband because every time I'm like, I'm so done with this. I can't do this anymore. He is such a big supporter, and he keeps me motivated all the time. I am not the best self-care person. I will work and work and work until I cannot work anymore. And I like it. I love working. And sometimes as a mom, I feel guilty. I'm like, I should want to be present more, but I find so much joy in building this business, and I love that. It is a really big goal of mine this year to take care of me a little bit more. And this past weekend for my birthday, I decided to go to Charlotte. And I went to a spa and hotel and spent the night there. and it was the best thing ever. I left feeling like I could go conquer the world because I was so well rested. And I think that my husband says I need to do that every month, to just go somewhere and rest for like 24 hours, because I will work myself to death if I don't. What I do like to do is when I'm tired, I go to bed. I try my best not to keep myself up until like 1 a.m. If I feel like if my body is depleted, then nothing else is going to go correctly. So I'm really a big pursuer of bedtime. When last night I went to bed at 8:30. When I'm tired, I'm just
Amazing.
tired. And I think that's
Amazing.
important, because if your body cannot sustain, then you can't either.
Yeah. And what I heard you say there is you listen to your body and you give it what it needs. And that's, I mean, my fitness and mental health journey has been very similar. It started with working out. And then the more I worked out, the more I realized, oh, I can kind of listen to my body. Things like alcohol and social media can sometimes, not that those are bad in and of themselves, but they can kind of sometimes numb you to where you don't have to listen to your body. And then things can get worse and worse until your body screams at you to make a change. And so, I mean, props to you for, even though you feel like you may not be very in tune with it or disciplined about it, it sounds like you are in tune with your body at least. And yeah, I mean, a monthly spa overnight is, I would say, an amazing thing that you could give yourself. And honestly, to give your family and your business too, because like you said, it's no use running a huge business if you're just going to burn out and if you're going to get out of this and your husband has to talk you off the ledge once a month
Right.
from quitting the business, that is.
I also don't drink alcohol, really. I
Mm.
will every once in a while, but I don't like how it makes me feel not at my best. And so I just actively make a choice to, maybe every once in a while if I'm on vacation, but typically like it is not in my monthly routine. And I feel like it keeps me very clear.
Yeah, that's impressive. I know a lot of folks, I've taken multiple breaks from it and I've only enjoyed it. And my wife and I were just talking about taking a more of a prolonged break together just to see how it, the impact that it has on our life and just to not assume it's the default, right? To like anything in your life, you should investigate and you should make sure, is this serving me or is it not? Is this just a cultural thing that I've been kind of swept away with? And I need to really look at it. And like you said, no, is it affecting how sharp I can be? Is it adding value to my life or is it taking value away? So alcohol, social media, whatever it is, I encourage anyone on the call to really look at those things and balance that out. So I'm getting swept away listening to you. I'm going to look at my notes over here. I'm curious here too. What does this look like for you as you think about, it started with really, it sounded like wanting to be able to give my family a moment of freedom, that if we get PCS, we can say no and we can quit. My husband can become a reservist and we can stay put, right? As that grows, I'm sure your big why is going to change. Right now, it sounds like you're working on implementing more systems and leverage to give yourself back more of your time. Where is wealth building on your journey? Is that something you have your eye on? Is that something you're already doing?
1000%. Yes. So we want to buy 2 investment properties this year. We have never purchased an investment property. Our goal is to buy 2 this year. This is fun, right? Like working hard is fun, but I do not want to do it forever. I do not want to be tied to buying and selling real estate and helping people do that. So we want to start now. I just turned 27 this week. My husband is 28. We want to be able to retire by like 45. We want to be work optional, I guess, for lack of better words. So investing in real estate is really big for us. Last year, we put away $60,000 in investment in the stock market. And we make it a point to invest as much as we can because I don't have a retirement fund, like I'm not putting money away every month through my commissions. So it's really important for us to do that as well. And this year, we hired a tax company, Your Tax Coach, and they have been awesome. We hired a financial advisor, and they have been awesome. It's like an entire agency of people who meet with us to make sure that our net worth is where we want it to be. How much do we need to put aside every month to get to where we want to be? We hired my daughter on payroll. So we get so much money every month from my business bank account, and we invest that money for her as well, because the goal is to make sure that she is set up too. And I think one of the houses that we buy this year, we're going to put in a trust for her so that she owns it and she can utilize it after she gets to a certain age as a rental or sell it for a profit or whatever she wants to do.
That's fantastic. That's super inspiring. You mentioned a lot of wealth building strategies, and we're not going to dig into, unfortunately, we don't have the time, but hiring your kids on payroll is something we're talking about right now. Using trusts, all sorts of other things too. If you're not familiar with KW Wealth, I'd encourage you to look into that. It's another segment that we have there, one-day wealth workshops you can look into. I've learned a lot of those tactics, just like the very beginning of them, just starting to scrape the surface thanks to KW Wealth. And also it's a huge value and an emphasis in KWYP that we do at many of our retreats, whether it's at Family Reunion or at the upcoming summit. There's going to be a whole wealth building, like half day workshop, I think, at the YP summit this summer in Fort Worth. So make sure you look into that. And I want to remind everyone too on this call, feel free, this time is ours. It's not just for me to interview Taley, it's for you guys to come off and ask questions as well. So feel free to put them in the chat or to come off your microphone and ask a question at any time. So Taley, are you a book reader? Are you a podcaster? Are you Audible, Kindle? Like, how do you consume media, or is that a thing that you like to do?
I'm not a reader, but I know that I should be. I know in the back of my mind I should be. But I do like to listen to podcasts here and there. And there's one that I like that actually my tax person does. It's called Life Changing Money. And I love to listen to that because I like to hear the stories of how other people change their lives through, monetary value. Money is not everything, but it sure helps. It sure helps create a good life and helps you set, your kids up for generational wealth too. So I am a really big nerd when it comes to hearing other people's success stories because it is very inspiring, and I think it just makes me feel like I can do it too.
You said Life Changing Money. Was that it? Yes,
that's right.
Life changing. It reminds me of another one that I heard recently called My First Million, which is another, net worth wealth building type podcast. Taley, if you need more encouragement to read, specifically a book that might help you build a team and get more leverage in your life, I heard there's a cool book club coming up soon that I'm hosting that you might want to look into. So just saying.
I know. I was just listening to you and I thought that book sounds like something I need to read. It sounds like it's exactly what I need to read.
Yep. Exactly. Well, I'll give you the details when it comes out, when we announce all the dates and everything. What would you be doing if like, let's say Zillow took over the world and AI made realtors just completely obsolete? What would you be doing if you weren't doing real estate?
God, I don't know. I was in higher education before this, but they do not pay nearly as good as they should for all the time that we put in. So I think that I would use the educational background that I have to probably start another business. I have a degree in public relations and a master's in business. So I believe that those two skills have really helped me be able to build the business that I have today. And I think that I would just figure out how to help other people build their own businesses through public relations.
Okay. So you'd be like a bit of a consultant, it sounds like.
Yeah,
like
I
maybe
think
a public
so. I think
facing
that's what I would do.
Yeah, very much what real estate is like too. Being a consultant, just a different topic. We have a question from Ginger Peters right here in Raleigh. What's up, Ginger?
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Good. Thanks for being with us today. I have a kind of a similar story. I've been an agent for 12 years, but about 5 years ago, my husband left active duty he joined the reserves to come be my director of operations. So that was super exciting, but we realized we have a relatively large real estate portfolio. And so we realized we kind of had all of our eggs in one basket, and so decided to diversify, but it was fun while it lasted. But my question is, as far as social media goes, sometimes I just get really exhausted of posting on social media, and it becomes like more of a hassle and I kind of freeze. So how do you continue to come up with content? Do you just kind of go with what pops in your head, or do you have a plan around it?
That is a really good question. One of the biggest tips that I give people is to think back at, is to think back at what your clients ask you, what questions they have. Because if they have a question, then somebody else probably has that same question. Okay. So I think when you post, you should always think about the consumer, the person that you want to target with your post, what you think that they would like to know, what you think they want to learn. Think about how you can inspire other people, how you can educate them. We know the transaction process like the back of our hands. So to us, a lot of this stuff is common sense, but to a lot of people, they have no idea about anything. And so I think sometimes it's even going back to the basics and saying, you know, this is how you can invest in real estate. This is why you should. This is the first step. Here's the easiest way. Um, this is what earnest money means. Just basic things that you can provide people and consumers with because they don't know otherwise. And so if you become the person that is constantly educating them, then they look at you as if you are the expert. And when they eventually do have questions about real estate, they will go to you because you seem so knowledgeable.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Taley, on that note, what does your social media content planning look like? I'm assuming with how much content you're putting out, you plan it in advance. Does it live on a Google Drive document that you then post, or how does it work?
I don't plan it. I used
You
to.
don't? Wow.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I used to plan it. I used to use my daughter's nap time as time to plan and batch content, but I don't anymore. A lot of times it is very spur of the moment. It is something gives me some sort of inspiration about what I can post, or I'm scrolling through TikTok or Instagram and I hear a sound that I really like. And I figure out in my mind, how can I spin this and make it real estate related? But what I do tell people is that if you struggle with that, then you should use your calendar to time block to if it's not on a calendar, right, it doesn't happen. So you should put it on your calendar and say, okay, on Mondays from 2 to 4, I'm going to do nothing but content planning, and write it down. When you think about something that, okay, this will be a good social media post, put it on in your notes. Don't forget about it, because when you are kind of drawing a blank, you'll have that resource to go back to. So I don't plan. But that's also because, to be honest with you, it comes very natural. And I think that happens because of years of consistency with it.
Who else has a question for Taley? We've got a few more minutes left of her time.
I'm glad you feel that way, Becca, because I do feel crazy sometimes. She said that it was very spur of the moment for her. I mean, it really is for me. I don't know. I think that I've just become proficient. And I think that with any skill that you have, if you continue to do it over and over again, it will become, habit to you.
Time on task.
Right.
Taley, you've said a few things. If it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist, and a few others that sound really familiar to KW Bold laws. Have you taken Bold? Do you have a coach? Do you have a mentor in the business? Like, who do you learn from?
Yeah, so I did take Bold. I quit halfway through. I'm the worst, okay? I'm the worst. Don't listen to me. I quit halfway through because I got busy and it wasn't a priority. I'm not going to say that it was just me being busy. It truly was just not the biggest priority at the time. I do have a coach. My coach is Karen Prawl. She is awesome. I think she previously was a regional director with KW, and she just took over the role of chief of industry with Keller Mortgage and Mutual of Omaha. So I meet with her once a week, and she is a really just a badass, just pours into me and helps me feel like I'm very capable.
Jasmine here in our Raleigh chapter, or Triangle chapter, put a comment in the notes. She asked if you create all your own graphics, because she said it's really impressive, the stuff that you put out there.
So I use Canva to create everything that's on my page. I did hire, so for the past 2 years, I've been doing it myself. I did hire a social media agency this year to help kind of fill some of the gaps that happen when I get too busy. I recognized that all of my business was coming from social media, so I wanted to pour back into that and see the return on the investment monetarily. That social media agency will sometimes create some graphics for me, but their job really is to watch the analytics of my social media on Instagram and make sure that we're hitting all the right targets. which what happened was I did a reel and I went viral, and I had 14,000 followers that followed me after that reel. And so when your Instagram goes from a smaller amount to a really big amount, your engagement suffers because you've had an influx of people who follow you, and they don't care about you or the fact that you're teaching about real estate. They just saw that one reel. And so I really have to be very, intentional about engaging with other people on there, or I wouldn't have any engagement at all.
While we wrap up here, I just put the link to the YP Summit in June in the chat. I want to encourage anyone else to ask any questions here. We've got a social media expert in Taley, so ask her your questions. One thing I meant to mention as well too is that Ginger here at Raleigh, Ginger has a property management company locally. So if anyone here on the chat or watching this on YouTube is looking for a good property manager who's plugged into our community, definitely connect with Ginger there.
Nice. I will have to connect with you, Ginger, as we start to invest.
Ginger, feel free to Ginger, feel free to put your link in the comments as well so people can find you. But go ahead, Taley.
No, I was saying that I'll have to connect with her too, because I'm always down to learn more about that stuff.
Would love to help.
Well, guys, we are almost at the end of my questions. I've got a bunch more that I can ask, but I want to make sure we save some time for you guys, for the people who've made time out of their schedule to be on this call. Ginger just put her property management company in the chat there. Taley, I want to ask you what, I know you still call yourself a new-ish agent, but what advice do you have for agents who are, whether they're new and they're struggling, or maybe they are burned out, or they just never get started in the first place? What advice do you have for agents like that?
I think mindset is the biggest thing. I think that I struggle with mindset a lot too. I notice that when I am actively trying to keep myself on top of the world, that I feel better, and I feel like I can do more, and I feel more encouraged. I think that it's really important for you to prioritize yourself. Even though I'm not the best person at doing that, I know the importance of it. I think that leverage is really important. My first year, I did not want to leverage. I did not want to hire anybody. And that was because I felt like nobody can do it the way I can, and I don't want anybody else to touch my business. But it wasn't until I sat down with my husband and I said, gosh, someone just asked for a real estate agent recommendation. I really hope nobody recommends me, because I'm so tired. I just can't do this again. I realized that I would continue to feel that way, and I would never be able to really grow unless I hired leverage. So I had to get out of my own way. And I think that is the biggest thing, is that you have to get out of your own way, whether that is hiring leverage or allowing yourself to believe in yourself and to believe that you deserve the success that you have. I think that is sometimes really hard too.
Yeah, that mindset and that belief and that confidence is everything. Do you get more of that by being surrounded by your community, whether it's your clients or the YP community, or how do you keep yourself like that on top of the world?
Sometimes I get messages from agents on Instagram, and they say things like, thank you so much for showing up every day and inspiring me. Or they'll ask me for advice. And I think that I have to remember that it's not just about me. It's about me and my husband and my daughter. It's about all the agents that reach out to me every day and ask questions. It's about the people who are rooting for me to succeed, the people that are back home in my community that want to see me win. And so I think that I've just realized that when I remember that it's not just about Taley, that I'm more motivated to do more, because especially when you start hiring people on staff, you are responsible for somebody else's income. And so it bears a lot of weight, but it's also very much a big motivating factor to keep going.
Yeah. And on that note, Becca Ellis just asked, what's next for you? Is it growing the team? And obviously the 2 rental properties this year, what's next?
Yeah, I don't know. I go back and forth all the time about whether or not I want to start a team. Eventually, I believe that I will have to. If I want that freedom, you know, the MREA, what it teaches us and how to grow. I don't want to be hustling for the rest of my life. So I know that a really great way to step out of that is to start a team and lean on other people. So I think that is where I'll end up moving towards, but I don't want to do it too fast because I want to have a really good foundation. I don't want to just blindly hire or hire without systems in place. So right now I'm really trying to learn from people who have been there and done that and who have said, hey, I'll teach you my mistakes. So I really want to prove to myself that I can sell 100 houses as a solo agent. I really want to prove to me that I can do that. And then I want to move forward and teach other people. I think I'm very much a competitive person. So I like to be the best. And my heart's prayer for the last little bit has been to stop focusing on being the best and start focusing on being exactly what God wants me to be. And so I think right now it is a whole lot of mindset and getting my foundation together so that when the time is right for me to expand, I'm ready to do so.
Yeah, fantastic note there. I love that. And it's not being the best overall, but it's being the best version of you, right? It's the best that you can be. Let's see here. We're getting a lot of questions here at the very end. Becca Ellis wants to know, are you only using Command, which is Keller Williams in-house CRM software?
Yeah, I am. I just use Command.
Okay, just Command. Jasmine Howard wants to know, what's your most used or most effective system?
The onboarding system for my clients. So like I told you, I had TaleyHuntReferralGroup.com. I also have TalkWithTaley.com. Same concept, send it to clients. When they reach out to me, they're interested. I send them that and say, fill this information out. And then I immediately set a consultation. I have them fill it out and I say, once you fill this out, I'll grab your email and send you a calendar invite. So quick steps that I go through are getting an interest form from somebody, or somebody reaches out to me. I chit chat with them a little bit, send them the talkwithtaley.com. They fill it out. I send them a link to hop on a Zoom or a Google Meet, actually in a calendar invite. And then once we have that, for buyers specifically, I will send them a template that I have saved in my Gmail. Like, here are some local lenders. It was so great talking to you. This is my home buying guide. For listings, I have a system in terms of I have a listing presentation, and I go over there and go through that spiel every time, and I bring them data and I say, this is what I think your house is worth, and this is why I think it's worth that. So it builds that confidence and trust that she must know what she's talking about because she put the value in our face. And then that usually seals the deal. So an onboarding system is what I use now, and I think that is the most used and most effective. And then once I get a house under contract, I pass it off to my TC, and that is their one thing and not mine.
Taley, that's fantastic. You just crammed so much value there in the end as well, in addition to this whole call. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank everyone who's been on this call. 3 quick reminders. 1, sign up for the YP Summit. The link is in the chat. It's going to be a blast. You're going to get a lot of value out of it. 2, keep an eye out for our book club coming up second quarter, once a week. It'll be really easy. We'll do like 20 to 30 pages a week. So it's nothing that nobody here can't handle. And 3, next month, we do this the second Thursday of every month at the same time every month. Next month, I'm excited. We have Ken Posick out of Orlando, Florida, who left KW for about 9 months, just came back recently, was on stage with Gary at Family Reunion, and his team has sold like 170 million per year, or like 322 for the past 2 years. So going to get a ton of value on a massive organized team. So we love to mix it up. We love individual agents who are trying to sell 100 homes. We love rookies. We love anyone who's living a big business and a bigger life. So if you have suggestions for who you want to see interviewed on these calls, please let me know. And with that said, Taley, you've given us a bunch of links where people can find you, but what's the best way for someone to reach out if they want to send you a referral or just reach out and chat?
Probably Instagram. You can find me at Taley.soldit. at taley.soldit. And my number is 910-301-0496. So I am reachable in several locations, and I always check my Instagram messages.
I love it. Thank you so much, Taley. We hope to see you around. Have a great
All right,
month,
thanks.
everybody. See you next time.
Bye.